Gentleman Style Show.
Welcome to the next episode of the Gentleman of Style Show. I'm Baldwin.
And I'm Creech, and today we've got an educator coming through, all right? So we need to get that up there off the top. So if you ain't doing what you're supposed to do, go get some education. But anyway, that's a different story.
It's a different story.
It's a whole different story. So we've got a gentleman who's going to come and kind of enlighten us on some of the, the new innovations and what's going on in education and how he makes sure that his kids, have the best and have the biggest opportunity to be able to succeed.
Okay, sounds good to me. Hey, welcome to the stage, our next guest, Neal Christian.
How are you? I'm trying.
I knew I was coming around some high quality fashion, so I had to step it up. Yes, indeed.
So how are you today? You doing pretty good?
Doing well. It's a great day today. I did step away from the building, so
I
that's always.
I was wondering how you got out of it. I was like, hey, how you do that?
Well, I always tell people, it should be about the system. So, if I design a culture where we have high expectation of our kids, if anybody steps away, the system will still run. So
right.
I know my kids are doing well right now.
Right.
Yes, sir.
I'm not going to jump the gun. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I know you need a little background. I used to jump the gun a little bit.
Yeah.
He like to get to it.
Get to it.
But yeah, kind of give everybody a little sense of your background, where you grew up, kind of how you honed your skills and came up through the ranks. So first off, where you from and kind of start there.
Born and raised from Atlanta, Georgia, what we always call a Grady baby. So born here, only left at certain times when I was in the Navy, but my life trajectory is very interesting. Being that looking at what I do now, I always knew I would be in this position. I just didn't realize it at the moment. Growing up was very interesting. I was the youngest of three. My sister Pam and my brother Randy. And they were not as involved like I was, with numbers. Math just fascinated me. And I tell people I think it was just a divine intervention because, my birthday is July 1st, which is 701. But I was born at 701. And I weighed 7 pounds and 1 ounce. So go figure. So I think it was meant for me to.
The conspiracy theories say.
I didn't want to go down there.
He didn't want to go down there.
Really?
Yes. So I tell people this story. I just remember as a kid, having getting sick, and at the time my mom maybe have dad would give me NyQuil. But every time I got sick and they would give me medicine, I would hallucinate when I'm sleeping. I couldn't really sleep. And I would always tell my dad, hey, these numbers are getting real big in my head. And if they get too big, I'm going to die. And he was like, what? And this is like 1 and 2 years old.
Right.
So he told me, just think about the number that came before. That's what we call subtracting 1. Tried it. It worked for a little while. But eventually my dad told me, you're going to have to learn how to take half of a number. And after he taught me that, I never had an issue with it. So I grew up being just intrigued by math, and hence I went to Georgia Tech and majored in engineering. But my destiny was, wait a minute, if I can make $100,000 in engineering, I bet I can help 100,000 people make $100,000 by teaching. And mom and dad were like, no, stay here, stay at Georgia Power. And I stepped out on a whim and took a position teaching at a private school here in Atlanta, Georgia, and never looked back. And that was my moment when I realized, wow, people are understanding me and my quirks about how I teach. And then I decided to take it a step further. Went to the Georgia Department of Education, and instead of teaching students, I began teaching teachers. So now I'm not just impacting my classroom,
right.
I'm impacting classrooms, and I traveled around the state.
You multiplied.
Yes, yeah. And I taught teachers how to teach math. And from that point on, man, just moved on up to administration and right now being a superintendent of one school, elementary, and one middle. So
let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
And this goes along the lines of teaching.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of kids struggle with math. That's one of the big problems that I know in our culture that we experience.
Yes.
Like that. Do you have any like hints or tricks or anything like that in order to enhance their grasp on that subject?
I do, and here's the thing: when all these standards start changing across the United States, and I know y'all probably heard that double C word, Common Core, and everybody was like, "What is this new math?" And I said, "Math
It's
has
the math that I can't teach.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm like, I don't really remember how to do it like that.
and it's so
What that
funny.
is.
Math has not changed for
Right.
400, 500
Right.
years.
Right.
How we teach it should change. And so I tell people, if I ever met an adult that feels like they don't know math, it's not their fault. It was the teacher's fault, because I remember growing up in school, and I used to just sit there and listen to the teacher, and they used to always say, hey,
Go back a little bit.
Okay.
When you say Common Core, a lot of people don't. Me being one.
okay.
What exactly is Common Core? What does that exactly mean?
So
Or what was the
Right.
What was it behind it that we
Yes.
moved from one system to the?
So one of the biggest things about Common Core was that the United States is very transient in its population. So kids may move from South Carolina to Georgia, or from Georgia to Texas.
Okay, I see that.
And they were like, wait a minute, why are
Right.
all these states having different standards?
Right.
And if someone were to transfer in November, how are they going to correlate that to the kids' grade? So why are we even doing something different? Everyone should be on the same set of standards.
Right.
And that's why they called it common. But, you know, we tried it, people moved away from it. But it's because every state has control over what they want to do. So the United States Department of Education, they have some guidelines that are non-negotiable, but then they say the states, you can decide here and there, but it has to be approved through
Right.
federal law.
You have to meet a minimum.
a minimum.
Okay.
Exactly.
I see.
Exactly. And because we're not on the same set of standards still in all 50 states, high achieving students in Georgia may totally be different than the high achieving students in Wisconsin, and it's unfair to even judge that. But then, of course,
So it's still
yeah,
a balance to a degree.
it's still a balance, but there's still some disconnects between the transient population. So,
Right.
and I get kids, you know, from being that I'm in historic Norcross, I get kids from the country of Colombia, places in South America, and so it's hard to kind of see where they are. Even a kid moving from another state, I say I can look at your report card all day, but where do you fit right here in Georgia? So
Right.
it's tough. It's tough.
Okay.
So, but what I was saying is I can be accurate when I say this. Teachers back then did not really know how to effectively teach math. That's why a lot of our adults don't feel we know it. And when I show parents that their second graders are coming up to me asking me in the hallway, Mr. Christian, give me a problem. And I'll say, okay, what's 52 times 11? They said, Mr. Christian, that's 572. And you can check that if you want to. But I show there are tricks. So I'm in the process of, I keep putting it down, writing a book about strategies to help even adults help their kids in that math, because people think reading and writing is the basis and foundation of everything we need to know, and I don't disagree, but it's not for us to forget about math, because I think the world is run on economy, which is money, which is numbers, and we need to know that. So,
Right.
so yeah, I think it's not an either or. We should be doing reading, writing, and arithmetic.
You said you're writing a book.
Yes, it's on math strategies and tricks. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good
Yes.
stuff. Good
yes.
stuff. When can we expect that?
Oh man, I'm
putting you on the spot.
I know. Now I'm in chapter 3 of my dissertation to finish my doctoral degree.
Yeah.
So that takes precedence right now.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
but I jot down ideas, and I even show it to my students at school and show it to the teachers, and I say, hey, first grade teachers, let's look at this. I'll take you all back to elementary school. I remember we used to have to, when we did subtraction, we used to have to borrow.
Right, right.
Like it was 42 minus 19. We used to have to borrow from the 4 to make that 2 a 12. That
Right.
way we can subtract the 12 minus 9. And I told teachers, you don't ever have to, they call it regrouping now.
Yeah, they do a lot of that.
They do a lot of that.
Regrouping.
Yeah, because a $10 bill is 10 ones. So when they see 42, that's the same as 30 plus 12.
Right.
And so that's where our borrowing came from. But I told them, you never have to do that. And the teachers were like, what do you mean? And I said, well, 42 minus 19. And I said, let's go back to something basic. What's 6 minus 1? They said 5. I said, what's 7 minus 2? I said, it's 5. What's 8 minus 3? They say 5. So as long as I manipulate both numbers, the same. My answer would be the same. So 42 minus 19 is the same as 43 minus 20. And everybody in their heads can do 43 minus 20 is 23. So why do you have to teach regrouping and borrowing when you can just manipulate the answers, the question, to get a simple answer? So those are the kind of things that I'm showing in the book, that math can be made easy.
Okay, because they're definitely big on that regrouping right now. I didn't understand why they were going. To me, I thought, well, maybe they're trying to teach them a different way of thinking as far as when they look at something like breaking it apart,
Right,
putting stuff
putting
together,
that
and all
yes,
that type
yes.
of stuff. Maybe that's the meaning behind that, to get your mind to work in a different way.
Yeah, in a sense, and when Common Core came out, they were really advising educators to teach how to solve a problem in multiple different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And parents were complaining, just show my child one way. I said, but one way for your child may not work for this other student.
Right.
They want to do it this way. And I said, I'm sure there are times you all drive home and you can go many different ways, but you know the time of the day, or if there's an accident, you're going to choose the path of least resistance. So
Right.
in math, if I look at a problem, I should say, I'm going to do this one this way. Now the next one, I got to do it another way, because it changes things. So give those kids that autonomy to say, you know what, I like this method versus that one. And instead of just teaching one way, because if a kid does it one way and forgets it, they're stuck. So
Right.
So I like the way of, let's think outside the box. And also, one of the other biggest things with the educators is that we have to take a step back from telling kids to do it like we do it.
Right.
Growing up, I think, and this is not a knock on educators, but because I'm one, but somewhere we've stifled kids' ability to ask why. My daughter's 15 now, but I remember in the back seat at 2, 3, she asked me a question, I give her the answer, she'll say, why? But as soon as they get in school, we stop them from asking why. And I'm like, no, you got to allow them to ask why. So now, instead of doing a problem, give a problem to a kid without teaching, let them see what they say. And if they get stuck, ask them another question.
Right.
But we need to allow them to think.
Right.
And that's the problem with schools these days. We don't allow kids to think.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, given that thought process versus let's look at it from a private or charter school versus public.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're in public school, you got a lot going on,
Yes.
and you got 30, 40 students, everybody asking why. You got to get through the semester. You got to get through the school year. So is that a piece of that why you don't want, or they like, no, we ain't got time for why? Here's here's what we need to do. Here's the curriculum. Let's get this curriculum taught. Let's.
Yeah, and I've had the luxury of being in private, public, and now I'm in a public charter. And I tell you this, regardless of the class size, when a teacher is the center of the classroom, that becomes the issue. Who's learning? The students are learning, so they should be the focus. Right. So when I teach, and by the way, even as the principal / superintendent, I teach 90 minutes a day, every single day, because we have 8th graders that are getting high school credit, and I want to teach that. And so this is my 2nd year teaching it at the school. And if you were to come in my classroom, you'll see that I allow them to talk, because typically schools were come in, sit down, and just listen. And I'm like, no, kids are going to talk. So I allow them to discuss, and they no longer always have to ask why, because they're asking their elbow partners why. And then when we have the rich discussion, and so I rarely stand up and just teach the whole class, because I can't gauge 25 kids and see that all 25 are getting what I'm saying. But if I allow them to work together, and I walk the classroom and I just listen, I'm assessing them as I listen. That's how I know that they understand what the material is. So there are times I do have to go up and say, hey class, all eyes on me, let's do it. Let's talk about this, because I heard some differences, going and debate. So it is that transformation in the 21st century that we need to allow kids to be the focus for the learning.
Quick question. Do you guys have special education at your school?
We do.
You do?
We do. And because we're public,
Is it they're high function, or how does it work?
we have everything, the spectrum, autism,
Okay.
all different types of learning disabilities, whether it's up to 8 years old, we call it a significant developmental delay.
Mm-hmm.
Anything specific, we got ADHD. You got students who are new to the country or English is not their primary language. We call it ESOL, English speakers of other languages. So we have the gambit, but we're public, and so if a student enrolls and is accepted to the school, we have to provide that service. We even have to provide occupational therapy for kids that have to work on their fine motor skills, speech as well.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes, sir.
It's full service.
Full service, and we also on the other end we have the gifted, because all of our kids are exceptional. So even the kids with what they call the IEPs, individualized education plans, they're exceptional.
How in depth is your gifted program?
It's very in depth. We actually just sent out a newsletter this morning, letting parents know we're ramping it up even more, because they've really demonstrated that they understand on grade level subjects. So of course our 8th graders, they're getting 4 high school credits, the ones that are gifted. Even some of the ones that aren't in the gifted program are getting 4 high school credits. But now it's more project based, because we can read a book and probably take a test and do well on it, but can you apply what you've learned to something meaningful, a real world project?
Real world.
So one of our gifted projects is sustainability and healthy living, and so there's a lot of math involved in that as well. And I got to put out the plug. Shirley from TLC built the school of greenhouse, and she taught the kids how to grow from farm to table.
Chili taught that.
Yes, she did.
I did not know she was knowledgeable.
She's big on healthy eating, and so her and another childhood actor, Matthew Lawrence, that was in Miss Doubtfire, and his brother Joey Lawrence. I know they have a podcast. They have a reality show, and so we were the pilot, and so they filmed it. We had our kids in there, but she's real big on that, on healthy eating, and so that greenhouse was built in 3 days, and we have teachers that maintain it. And then I was able to get a grant from Arby's, of all people. Arby's, thank you to Arby's.
I saw that. That's one of your partners.
Yes, yes.
On your partner page.
Yes,
yeah.
they contributed money to make sure
Staples is on there.
we have Staples. I even have a parent that him and his dad, they own a roofing company that blessed us with a monetary gift last December that I literally cried in front of him, because I didn't expect it, because I'm not here for that, but I'll take it, because any and all help to raise our kids academically would be a benefit. So it was amazing. So I got some great partners. But we need more, and so I'm working.
That leads me to another question. I was thinking about this earlier. I didn't want to cut you off.
That's okay.
What are the finances like? What type of budget is needed to run a school like that?
Oh, that's interesting that you say that. Let me say.
I know
this.
you can always take more and do more.
Yeah.
But right now, currently, to sustain,
right.
What does it take?
It takes a lot. So I'll put it in this aspect. Yeah. Well. It's hard, so I'll put it like this: we get roughly $15,000 per kid.
Okay.
In federal.
That's provided. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, federal and state money. Of course, there's some more funding if they're in the gifted program, or if there's special ed, which requires more. And what they call it is FTE. It's the full-time equivalency. So they understand what it would take to educate a 3rd grader. Who deals with autism, or a 4th grader who's in the gifted program, or a 5th grader who's in the ESOL program. So they understand it's a formula, what they use, that quality basic education, QBE. And so, but here's the kicker. We're public school. It's free to go to my school. But if a kid comes from a local district, because we're a charter, we get less than that school. So that money is not tied to that kid. So if a kid leaves, and I'm located in Gwinnett County, but I'm not a part of Gwinnett County. So if a kid leaves Gwinnett County and comes to my school, I'm getting roughly $6,000 less than what Gwinnett would have gotten had they stayed in Gwinnett County. And I just think it's unfair.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
You're saying you're in Gwinnett County, but you don't get the benefit from the finances of Gwinnett County.
Because, and some school districts have their own charter schools. Like APS they have tons. They probably have more than anybody in Georgia in terms of charter schools. DeKalb has a few. Gwinnett doesn't have that many. But when you're a district charter, you get the same funding. But when there's an entity called the State Charter Schools Commission, that's who commissioned us to become in operation. So I answer to them. I don't answer to the Gwinnett County superintendent. So I'm considered the superintendent. So, and plus I have statewide attendance, meaning you can live anywhere in Georgia and go to my school for free, as long as you can get them there.
Right.
So, because my students' parents aren't necessarily paying Gwinnett County property taxes, we don't get that luxury. But I have parents, my largest population comes from Gwinnett County. So, why don't I get to keep all that money? That money stays with the district even though the kid is not in that school.
So your school, is transportation included in, so it's almost like a private school, you get them there?
Yeah, you just get them there. It's free. There's no, but we have. I'm located in historic.
There's no busing system or anything.
No
like
busing
that.
system.
Right, okay.
But I'm located in historic Norcross. When I first got hired in 2022, parents paid and had a bus coming from Lowe's at Camp Creek Parkway all the way to Norcross. I bless them. I thank them for doing that. But it was about 12 students that were coming on a daily basis, and they paid that busing company to transport them to and fro. And now there's some smaller companies that are local, like vans, that 15 passenger vans that get them, but we don't have a transportation. But my biggest issue when you talk about budget is because we're getting less funding, my board and we have to work hard to find ways to supplement teacher salaries, because my teacher salaries are not anywhere close to the Metro Atlanta districts.
Okay.
And so what would make a teacher want to stay at my school versus going and getting more money?
Mm-hmm.
So that's my job. I have to make it a culture where they want to be. Yes, you may not make X amount there here versus going there, but I keep classroom sizes small. So if you look at Gwinnett County, they may 33 kids. I cap it at 22 kids. I pay 100% for medical, dental, and vision, short term, long term, and life insurance.
That's big, right?
So nothing comes out of your check for medical, dental. You may have a copay.
Especially for a female instructor, they are really big on that insurance.
Exactly. And my board, we go out and we're very innovative. We go out and any cash that we have in the bank is just sitting there. So what we'll do is we'll buy CDs and we'll let it draw interest.
Right.
And at the end of the year, we'll take that interest and we'll pass it to the teachers as a one-time bonus. Because I tell teachers, if I give you $1,000 extra on your salary and split that over your bi-weekly checks, you're not going to see much. But in May, if I give you a $1,000 check, you now can go on a trip for the summer, do anything that you want to do. So I think the average teacher left last year with roughly about $1,900, $2,000 as a one-time bonus. So it's just, those are the things that I have to do to get people to want to stay at my school at BIA Charter and not flock. But people do go. People do. So
for the, I guess the person who doesn't think about it, what is the charter school? What is the makeup of an actual charter school?
So, and there are different entities. Sometimes you'll see organizations run a charter school, and we don't have an organization. This is strictly a school board that holds me accountable to hiring and everyone in the building. Basically, what we're saying is public school parents may want something different for their children. So we're allowing schools to be created like charters to offer something different. So we have 3 tenets at my charter school that's attractive. One, we do coding, starting at kindergarten. So they're understanding how to create apps, everything from kindergarten to 8th grade. Our other one is personalized learning, which is there's time built in every single day where a kid gets to stop learning from the teacher and work on something where they are. So if it's personalized learning for language arts, this kid may be reading a novel and working on reading comprehension on a much easier book that has a lower lexile that they can read, but this other student in the same class may have already demonstrated a higher reading level and they're on something complex, maybe a chapter book, and they're answering questions. So they get to stop and work on what they need to work on if they're below grade level, on or above. And that's our second one. Our third one is project-based learning. Everybody in the building is working on a project based on what they're learning. So if third graders are working on fractions, they may go to our greenhouse and they start talking about what fraction of this greenhouse is growing romaine lettuce. So they have to talk about what they're learning and apply it to something real. And so the teachers every year get to choose what they want to focus on. We do a lot of sustainability and recycling. We try to do a lot of that because of the way the world is going, and we see what happened in Cummings with this biolab. We start thinking about ways to make life better. And so that's what a lot of our projects are based on. So most charters usually have a theme or tenet that will attract parents to come there.
You weren't affected by that biolab. I saw the way the wind was blowing going toward the Stone Mountain area. That's the way it looked like.
It was. I think for the people that were going outside, there were a lot of people said their throats started burning, and so I had to research what they do, and they make the chlorine for pools. That's what they were doing. But when it got in that air, and I have educators that are in my school that live in Conyers, and they had to take off work because they were shelter in place, or it's just they wanted to be there with their kids when they were out of school. So yeah, it was tough. It was tough.
Okay.
But that's one of our biggest things. But now, here's the other thing about charters. I make my own school calendar. I try to make sure teachers have those breaks built in throughout the year because that teacher burnout is real. But it's not burnout if you allow them to kind of relax and have time to refocus. Like for instance, next week we're out all next week. Most schools, they'll have 2 or 3 days before what they call fall break. We're off the whole week. And so I tell them recharge, come back, and you'll be focused on your why.
Oh, so there's no teacher workshops or anything going off during that off time and everything. You let them off.
I let them off. We do have our teacher work days. We had one about 2 weeks ago where we were training. We brought people in. I made sure everyone was, we built in some time that everyone was CPR first aid certified, paid for that. But there were some times they had to go to their breakout sessions, like a science teacher had to go and learn how to, create high efficiency questions from a textbook that may be low level. So we did different sessions for different age groups and different subjects. So
you guys have a STEM program? Is that what you were talking about earlier when the multiple disciplines?
So
or is it something different? Do you call it something different?
coding.
With the coding, like
Yeah.
the STEM, the science,
and we still do
engineering,
still do that with that science, technology, engineering, math. It's big. We've kind of moved away from textbooks. We don't even have textbooks. Everybody's on the Chromebooks, and we're 1-to-1, so kids get to take them home. Kindergarten and first grade, they have iPads to avoid the keyboard. But yeah, we're big, and I'm big. I always talk about how I know everyone's not going to go to Georgia Tech, but I would love that they have the opportunity to go to Georgia Tech and be an engineer. So, but technology is huge.
Your school runs through what grade?
8th grade.
Through 8th grade. I thought I saw that.